Okay, everybody, so let's go ahead and come to order today. So I'm moderating the session for engineering physics, or physics engineering. I can't quite remember the order they put them in. So today I'd like to introduce SCURR16Cohen, our first speaker. We'll be talking about laser array telescope. He is a physics major from CSU Santa Barbara. Thank you very much for welcoming Alexander.
Hey everyone, again I'll be talking about a laser array space under development, also known as a kilometer telescope. So just a brief history in telescopes. The earliest telescopes appeared in the Netherlands around 1608 with various other people who contributed greatly to the field, and then Isaac Newton in 1668 is attributed to developing the first reflector telescope. Of course, since then we've come a very long way. Most of our modern telescopes utilize monolithic optical elements such as the Keck Observatory and the Hubble Space Telescope. Obviously, they are both ground and space-based, each offering their own advantages, and they enable full spectrum astronomy. And the trend currently is towards much larger monolithic optical elements. So what's next? Although there's a trend towards much larger monolithic optical elements, we propose that modern telescopes are actually limited by this factor. There was a study shown that for these ground-based telescopes, the construction cost increases by power scale of 2.46 in relation to the aperture size. So this is obviously not sustainable, and something needs to be done. And so what we say is to build the glass. And the next talk you'll see something that utilizes the same system topology as a project we proposed with D-Star. But basically what the glass does is it uses bidirectional fiber optic components to enable use as a transceiver. So it can receive light and it can transmit light. And it is modular, so it uses much smaller modular elements to basically simulate a much larger mirror using smaller components. So again, like I said, simulate a large aperture with an array of smaller sub-apertures, and since it's modular, this is infinitely scaled. And so you can make a smaller one, and you can make a very large one, and we're proposing a square kilometer version of this. And I said it's a transmitter and a receiver. So how the glass actually generates an image is actually pretty simple. If you are familiar with the quantum double slit experiment, you'll be able to know how this works. It's basically just a very large interferometer, except with instead of just 2 slits, you have lots and lots, millions of slits. And so the light is separated, the incoming light is separated into 2 or more sub-apertures. And then when you get an interference pattern, you have a peak in the middle, and you can correlate the value of that pixel with the amplitude of the peak of the interference pattern at that point. And so the image resolution is actually not determined by megapixels or CMOS sets or anything like that. It's basically determined by where you choose to put your pixels. So, and we'll get into how that works. So the next few slides are sort of zooming out in how the system topology looks. So we'll look at the smallest component, and this will zoom out and look at the much larger system. So the smallest component, or whole component in the glass, is a what we call an optical sub-element, or an OSE, and all it consists of is a single lens within a lens mount, capacity as well. So zooming out a little further, this is a 58 square meter array of these boas, and so this is 8.6 diameter. This is actually a rather small version of what the full version would be. And zooming out one step further, we have a much larger array. And one step further, and again. So this is actually not the full-size array that we propose. This is a half-size. We propose a full 1,000,000 square meter array with about 1,000 by 1,000 feet array assemblies. So you get about 1,000,000 of these individual hexapod assemblies, so 19 million of your individual sub-apertures. And so you can basically simulate the effect of a very large mirror with a whole lot of little sub-apertures. So in the lab, we are developing a quarter-scale model of one of these BOA setups, and it basically just consists of a hexagonal aluminum panel with C-mount lenses and fibers mounted to the back of them, and we have an interface between fiber and lens interface. This is the quarter-scale model mounted on top of the 6-axis hexapod. And currently, the design we have isn't actually compatible with fibers. We have set it up with LEDs just to kind of show what it would look like. But in the end, it would actually utilize fibers both for transmitting laser light and receiving light as to act as a telescope. And I'll get into the uses of the transceiver abilities of this in a little while. So like I said, these 50mm C-mount lenses, and we mounted it on this dual-use mount so we can put it on an optical bench or do all sorts of things with it. We can put it on a pen tilt mount as well, so we can point and do receiving tests as well. So this is the schematic of the actual sort of optical components in the telescope. So I'll go through what each one of these are. So this part constitutes one of these OSE assemblies. Step further. So this is just what it looked like sitting in there. Just the lens, the backspacer, and the fiber tip actuator. Next one's the actuators. So when you're receiving light through an interferometer, it's in your best interest to phase shift the light such that you maximize the constructive interference, because you want to reduce noise in your side lobes, and you want to increase how pronounced your central spike is to correlate that better with the pixel value. We have an adaptive optics system, since this is a ground-based telescope, so we'll need to account for aberrations in the atmosphere. And so we have two sort of adaptive optics systems that we utilize. One is an actual live feedback loop with wavefront sensors at each front of these OSE assemblies, which will inform the phase shifters as to how to phase shift the light. But then we also have a non-live live feedback loop, I'll call it. It basically uses stochastic parallel gradient descent methods to phase shift the light more rapidly than if we were just using a live feedback loop. And then you have an optical accumulator that's paired with a fiber coupler, which is basically just an image sensor. And the interesting thing about this optical accumulator is it doesn't need to be a CMOS sensor. It doesn't need to be an actual image sensor. It can just measure the intensity of the light at that point, because your whole array can basically point itself at one spot in the sky that you're going to call one pixel, generate an interference pattern, correlate the value of that pixel with the height of the central constructive spike, and then move on to the next pixel. And so the resolution of your image is only limited by the step size of your pointing, basically. So you can actually adjust the resolution actively. So again, the unpredictable nature of the wavefront requires the phase shifters to be informed by these closed feedback loops. Of course, since it's on the ground, it'll have to do this for atmospheric turbulence. When you have a very large array, you will be having a lot of thermal expansion, and there will be weather and climate implication that you'll need to account for as well. So one of the things that sort of determined the geometry of the entire system was figuring out the best packing density. And so if we were to actually simulate the effect of one large aperture, we would need the most efficient packing density we could get. So we define the packing density as the ratio between the total OSE area, so the total lens area, and the total area covered by the last interval. So in order to maximize this, we had to determine three factors. The geometry of each VOA, you saw that we ended up choosing a hexagon, and I'll go through a few other things we did with this. Another thing we had to take into account was the fact that in order to point this thing, each of these hexapods would have to be able to tilt the hexagonal panel, and thus introducing the potential to overshadow adjacent VOAs, and so that was something we had to take into account. And then the overall geometry of the array itself was also a factor, so we chose a circle, and that's up to changing as well. So the first thing we discussed was a square VOA, and obviously this leaves a lot of empty space where there isn't any OSE area, so this didn't turn out to be very good. You'll see later in some graphs that the packing density of squares in the array is actually much higher than it is, not much higher, it is higher than hexagons, but the thing is the packing efficiency of OSEs within the square is not as good, so we decided to go with the hexagon. So we also tried triangles. We actually stuck with triangles for quite a while, and then you'll see that the hexagons have the highest packing efficiency, so that's what we decided to go with. So you can see here that this is a graph of the angle of tilt of each VOA compared to the total packing density, and you can see that the square and the hexagon are pretty much the same, but the triangular array is much less efficient. And so this is what I was referring to when I said that the square was slightly more efficient, in that the number of individual optical sub-assemblies you could fit in your array is higher, but we decided to go with the hexagon just because of packing efficiency. Okay, so the The transmitter or the transceiver capabilities of this system are what make it rather unique. It has a whole swath of applications due to this. So one of them is photonic communication. You can basically, since it can receive and transmit coherent signals, you can actually use it to communicate with spacecraft. And so what we hope to do is use it both as a telescope and as a photonic communicator. And also you don't necessarily have to use the same system as a square kilometer. You can also put one of these BOA assemblies on a spacecraft and use it for laser communication as well. Another very interesting aspect of our design is that it can be used for directed energy, interplanetary, and interstellar propulsion. So this is one of the sort of largest things that our lab does is working with the breakthrough star shuttle initiative. So what we want to do is use high-powered laser light that's coming through our system to propel very small wafer sets to relativistic speeds, and we have shown that this is possible in the lab. Not relativistic speeds, we've shown that the thrust you can get from the photon pressure of such a coherent source on a small wafer set is actually very significant. You can get about a quarter of the speed of light within 10 minutes, and this isn't just with propelling your wafer set with a laser. You imagine a ground-based array, and then you put a wafer set into orbit, and every time it comes into view of your laser, you give it a little push. So the combination of the photon pressure and an orbit that increases in eccentricity can result in these amazing speeds. And so our professor we work under has proposed Mars in 30 minutes, and Alpha Centauri, and now the newly discovered Proxima b in 20 years. So again, the sum of the momentum from the photons is not negligible for a very light spacecraft and the high-powered lasers that we propose to use. So this is actually a picture of what one of our prototype satellites look like. This was a larger version. This is the Rev 2 next recorder. And the goal of this project is to eventually reduce each of these microprocessors to its individual electronic components, and then use atomic layer deposition on silicon wafers to actually reduce the massiveness by a lot. And so if you look here, these are, on each corner are high power LEDs, which we like to call photon thrusters. So when you're in space, you can use those to orient your craft. And then embedded in the actual craft itself is what's called a torsion coil. And so you can basically use it like a compass when it's orbiting Earth to orient yourself relative to Earth's magnetic field. And it has a little laser on there for laser communication as well with your array. Planetary defense is another application. So if you take this high energy laser and you bring it up in space and you come near an asteroid, you can actually use it to ablate the surface of an asteroid. And when you have this high power of a laser, when you shoot it at the surface of an asteroid, it doesn't actually melt the rock. It's so hot that it ablates it. So it goes straight from a rock to a gas, and it creates an ablation plume that ejects itself away from the asteroid. And Newton's third law says when you eject something from the asteroid can move in the other direction. And we have shown that this is true in the lab as well. And so just to prove that, we have a little video of our ablation chamber, wherein we actually spin up an asteroid and then use our laser to de-spin the asteroid and spin it in the other direction. So the purple is just our guide laser, and then the ablation is the sparking you see, and slowly spin. Another interesting application of our high-powered laser is power beaming. So if you have a far-off location on Earth, or you have a far-off satellite, you can use it to basically power beam, transport power to the satellite or the remote location using solar panels. If you have solar panels that can receive light in the wavelength that you are transmitting in, you can remotely give them energy by shooting the laser at their solar panel. So in conclusion, by rethinking the design of the conventional telescope in the sense that we sort of cast away the single optical element idea and replace it with an array of smaller sub-elements, we can make larger and more powerful imaging devices. And we believe that this may be the future standard for the most powerful optical sonar. So we'd like to acknowledge the funding we get from the NASA California Space Grant. And I'd like to thank my fellow researchers and Professor Philip Rubin for all the independence he gives us. And thank you.
I've got actually a couple, but I'll just start with one. Sure. So I noticed you were using refracting approach, using lenses as opposed to mirrors. And of course that limits your bandwidth, right? You can't go into the UV, you can't go into the infrared.
Right.
What was the logic of going, refractive as opposed to reflective?
That I'm not sure. All I do know it's an optical telescope, so you wouldn't use it for wide bandwidth or more bandwidth than optical. It'd be a good question. Another thing is that I know the professor has proposed using a thin holographic film lens as well, and I'm not sure what that would do in that respect, but that's the most I know.
You mentioned packing efficiency, and that's at least my other question, which was looking at your graphics, they look like pretty dense
Yes.
arrays. But of course, your resolution just really determined by your total aperture, right?
Right.
So you can spread them out and get the same light collection over a larger area and get better resolution. Is that part of your plan?
Not that I know of. All I know of is that the directive we were given was to maximize the packing efficiency, and so as to how it actually affects the data collection, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have time for one more question.
Go for it.
Alright, so going back to the packing efficiency, maybe use the square, the blouse, rectangle, and the hexagon.
Yeah.
And you showed the hexagon was the most efficient. Did you look into other, I guess polygons?
We didn't.
Maybe like an octagon or a pentagon or something?
No, not really. We just stuck with those.
Yeah, that has to do with just the way that you can pack circles. They end up fitting the hexagons very nicely. Triangles, you end up with that little wedge at the edge, and squares, you have lots of extra spaces as you saw the diagrams.
Okay, thank you very much, Johnny.